If you will now switch to notes 5-5, excuse me. We're going to do elimination day 2. Let me get a drink of water really quick to see if I can get this catch out of my throat. Oh, okay, sorry. So we're now doing elimination day 2. This is exactly like what we did yesterday with the elimination day 1, except this time you're not going to have common coefficients. So that means you're not going to have a letter with the same number. If that happens, what you need to do is you need to multiply one or both equations by a number to create similar coefficients. Okay. So, again, we're going to skip around. Remember, same rules from yesterday apply. They need to be lined up. Then you're going to add or subtract after you get them to have common coefficients. And then you just follow the process. So I'm going to try to teach y'all a trick on how to find it easiest to multiply. Okay, we're going to do number 2 and number 3 on the front, and then we'll flip to the back and do some on the back. For number 2, I do have x above x, y above y, equals above equals, and the constant number above the constant number. But my x's don't have the same number, and neither do my y's. So the easiest way to get them to be the same is to take the number and multiply it by each other. So if you wanted to get x's to match, you would have to multiply the top by 2 and the bottom by 9. So I just flipped the two numbers. Or if you want to get the y's to match, you would multiply the bottom by 3 and the top by 1 because there's a 1 there. It's always easier to work with smaller numbers. So we're going to multiply the top by 1 and the bottom by 3. So if you see, I pulled my y's because they were smaller numbers and I just flipped them. Now what we're going to do is just a small distribution. So 1 times 9x is 9x, 1 times 3y is 3y, and 1 times 12 is 12. The distribution goes all the way. And then we're going to do 3 times 2x, which is 6x, 3 times 1y, which is 3y, bring your equals, and then 3 times 5, which is 15. Excuse me. So now everything's still lined up and we have the same letter. If I do 3 plus 3, that's going to give me 6. So I need this one to be a subtraction problem. So 3 minus 3 cancels. So now I just have to do the rest as the subtraction. So 9 minus 6 becomes 3x, bring down the equals, and 12 minus 15 becomes negative 3. To get x by itself, I divide by 3, and that gives me x equals negative 1. Now you take this and you're going to plug it back into one of the originals. I'm going to go with the bottom one because it has smaller numbers. So I'm going to do 2, but instead of x, plug in negative 1 plus y equals 5. Well, 2 times negative 1 is negative 2 plus y equals 5. I'm going to add the 2, and that gives me y equals 7. So when I write my ordered pair, negative 1, 7, because x always comes first. And then we're going to check it in the calculator. So we're going to do 9 times the x, which was negative 1, plus 3 times the y, which was 7, and I should get 12. Then I check the other one. 2 times the x, which was negative 1, plus, and then the y is just 7. I should get 5. So since I got both of those to be the same, this is the correct answer. Okay, for number 3, I have 3x over 5x, negative 1y over 4y, equals over equals, and 14 over 12. So this is lined up, but I don't have a same number. So we can either multiply the top by 5 and the bottom by 3 to get the x's to match, or we can multiply the top by 4 and the bottom by 1. One is easier, so I'm going to switch the y's again. Now remember, it doesn't matter if you change the x's or the y's. It'll work the same no matter what. So we're going to distribute 4 first. This becomes a 12x, a negative 4y, and then 4 times 14 is 56. Okay, 1 times 5x, 1 times 4y, and 1 times 12. Now, the y's now are the same. So since I have a negative 4 and a positive 4, in order to get that to become 0, you need to just add. When the signs are opposite, you add. So 12 plus 5 gives me 17x. Negative 4 plus 4 cancels. And 56 plus 12 gives me 68. To get x by itself, I divide by 17, and x equals 4. Now I can pick either equation to plug this back into, and I'm going to go with the top one. So I'm going to do 3 open parentheses. Instead of x, I'm going to put 4 minus y equals 14. This becomes 12 minus y equals 14. I subtract 12. That gives me a negative 1y equals 2. I divide by negative 1, and y equals negative 2. So I plug my order pair in, x comma y, and then y'all can plug it into the calculator to check it. I've shown y'all how to do that now. Okay, we're going to go ahead and flip and go to the other page. So we're going to do 4 more examples, and that leaves you a few to do on your own. I have 3x above 6x, 1y above 2y, and 2 above 4. So the first thing I'm going to do, you can switch by 3 and 6, or we can switch by 1 and 2. 1 and 2 is smaller, so I'm going to multiply the top one by 2 and the bottom one by 1. So I'm switching the y's again. So 2 times 3x is 6x, 2 times 1y is 2y, and 2 times 2 is 4. 1 times 6x is 6x, 1 times 2y is 2y, and 1 times 4 is 4. Okay, so now I can look at this. Both my x's and my y's have the same number. So it doesn't matter which one you work with. To get the x's to cancel, 6 minus 6 would give me 0. So we're subtracting. Well, if I do that, 2 minus 2 also gives me 0. So I have 0 equals. And then if I do 4 minus 4, that gives me another 0. This is that true statement, which means same lines, which means your answer is the infinite many solutions. For number 8, I got 3x over 5x, 3y over 4y, and 9 over 10 with the equals in the same spot. Okay, we can either switch 3 and 5, or we can switch 3 and 4. The numbers are really close, so I'm just going to go ahead and go with 3 and 5, and I'm going to do 5 and 3. You could have done the other way. You're going to get to the same answer. It's okay. So 5 times 3x becomes 15x. 5 times 3y becomes 15y. And 5 times 9 becomes 45. 3 times 5x becomes 15x. 3 times 4y becomes 12y. And 3 times 10 becomes 30. So now my x's have the same number. If I have a 15 and a 15, the only way to get that to become 0 is to subtract. So 15 minus 15 cancels. Now 15 minus 12 becomes 3y, bring down the equals, and 45 minus 30 becomes 15. When I divide by 3, that gives me y equals 5. Now take this and plug this back into either the top or the bottom original. I'm going to go with the top. It has smaller numbers. So I'm going to keep 3x plus 3, but instead of y, I'm going to put 5 equals 9. This becomes 3x plus 15 equals 9. I'm going to subtract 15. That gives me 3x equals, this will become, excuse me, negative 6. I divide by 3, and x equals negative 2. I write my order pair. X has to come first, so negative 2, 5. I would take this and plug it in to see if it works, and if it works, you have the correct answer. Okay, the next number we're going to go to is number 10. For number 10, I have 2x above 2x. I have y above y, and I have my constant above my constant, but if you notice, your equals are in different spots. So to get it to line up, we're going to take the 4y and we're just going to move it to this side. In order to move it, we have to subtract it. So my new equation becomes 2x minus 4y equals 18. And this one is negative 5x minus 6y equals 3. Now, I'm going to do the same little bracket that they have. If you notice, you don't have the same numbers. So we can either switch the 2 and the 5 for x or the 4 and the 6 for y. It's easier to multiply by 2 and 5 than 4 and 6, so I'm going to put a 5 on the outside and a 2 on the outside. 5 times 2x becomes 10x. 5 times negative 4 becomes negative 20y. And 5 times 18 becomes 90. Okay, 2 times negative 5x is a negative 10x. 2 times negative 6y is a negative 12y. And 2 times 3 is 6. So to finish this, my x's now have the same number. If I have a positive and a negative, to get them to cancel, if I add them, they become 0. So if I do negative 20 plus negative 12, that gives me negative 32y. And if I do 90 plus 6, that gives me 96. Now when I divide by negative 32, I get y equals negative 3. I take this and plug it back into one of the originals. I'm going to go with the top. It has a little bit smaller. So I'm going to do 2x minus 4, equals 4 times negative 3 plus 18. This gives me 2x equals negative 12 plus 18, which gives me 2x equals 6. I just divide by 2 and x equals 3. So my final answer would be 3, negative 3. Box it and check it with the calculator to see if you're correct. Okay, the last one we're going to do is number 11, and then the rest are on your own. My x is above x, but my y is not above y. Okay, so the first thing we have to do, I have to get y all the way to this side of the equal sign. So I'm going to move the y over here. Since it's a negative 6y, we're going to add 6y. The top equation stays the same, 2x plus 4y equals 6. The bottom equation is going to change to 3x plus 6y equals 12. Okay, we can switch the 2 and the 3 or the 4 and the 6. It's not going to matter. I'm going to go 2 and 3. They're smaller numbers. 3 times 2 is 6x. 3 times 4 is 12y. And 3 times 6 is 18. Bottom, 2 times 3 is 6x. 2 times 6 is 12y. And 2 times 12 is 24. Now my x's are the same, so if I have 6 and 6, 6 plus 6 will not give me 0, so I have to subtract. 6 minus 6 cancels. 12 minus 12 cancels, so I have nothing left on this side. And 18 minus 24 becomes negative 6. Since I don't have letters, this statement is a false statement. Remember, false means parallel lines, and if it's parallel, your answer is no solution, or you can use the symbol. Now you're going to finish this paper up for me and do the problems we did not do. If you have questions, ask me for some help.